That's what I have a generic hair from the Dollar Tree, but not the minor that I should see
It's both. Is it? No, that's cool. It is both.
Cameras on the top.
It's a 360 camera and then a 360 mic. I like it.
All right, at 6 o'clock, this meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purposes of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in agenda item 3. Valerie, would you please call the roll?
Mr. DeGraff.
Here.
Mrs. Isaac.
Here.
Mr. Rudd.
Here.
Dr. Schmidt.
Here.
And Mr. Skidmore.
Here. Stand for the pledge of
Kinder?
allegiance. Here.
Ms. Muller.
Here.
Let's all stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roman numeral 3, public participation. We have Ms. Kathy Young.
Right. Find it, sorry. I'm not here trying to save battery. Sorry. Just stand here, is that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. All right, hello. President Rudd, other board members, Superintendent Schaller, and my name is Kathy Yon, and I want to start by saying you are probably all aware that I actively campaigned for school board candidates Lisa Batten and Spencer Iser. That being said, I want to thank them for running a clean campaign free of attacks on other candidates. I also want to congratulate Shavella Griffith and Tyson Dillon on their election. I do wish them the success, as we all want them to serve in the best interests of all our students. This campaign proved to be very hard fought, and as it evolved, I saw concerns previously shared with the board that had gone unaddressed have an impact. I'm referring to the weaponizing of local social media becoming more blatant than it ever had been in previous campaigns. It began last summer when our board president created a page bearing his title. He began making thinly veiled attacks of Lisa and Spencer even before they had publicly announced their candidacy. When he was respectfully challenged by myself and others, he blocked us from having access to this page. His attacks continued on the Valley View Spartan page, where he is also a moderator who can exert influence on what is or is not said there. Others joined him in making hateful comments there, while the Batten Iser team created a closely monitored campaign page that allowed none of this. In the fall, he announced he had agreed to manage the Dillon Griffith campaigns and created their campaign pages. The attacks on Spencer and Lisa were frequent and hateful, and community members joined in by contributing inaccurate statements and their own personal attacks. Once again, jumped. I'm sorry. That's the problem with doing it out of your phone. I swear, once again, when myself and others challenged their assertions, our comments were deleted, and many of us were later blocked from accessing this page too. The blocking, deleting, and the hateful commenting on these platforms made it nearly impossible to have constructive conversations about differing ideas and kept community members from hearing different viewpoints, particularly about the candidates. There was not time for me to gather screenshots showing the dialogues that evolved there, but I will be glad to provide them at a later date. I share all this because I know that neither Superintendent Schaller nor any other school board members are members of these pages and need to be aware of the divisive nature of the communication shared there. The board and superintendent should also be aware that our nation's highest court is beginning to hear cases about this issue, with the case of O'Connor/Ratliff versus Garnier possibly being the most pertinent. Many communications experts are now recommending schools develop strong policies regarding board members' use of social media. Our school's existing policy that states that an administrator will investigate and address this seems ineffective if the only existing administrator that can do so is our superintendent, who is supervised by and answers to the board. This seems to me to be a conflict of interest for any sitting superintendent. As digital communication continues to take priority over other means of communication, and as communicating about education on community pages continues to become more prevalent, our school board must do better in working with the community to create safe arenas for sharing all ideas without fear of censoring and retaliation. I have an exchange that I can share with you if time allows. If it does not, I will skip that. I'll let you call that. But I will say that after that exchange, I was blocked from those pages. So if you're interested in hearing that, it's powerful. All right, I thank you for your time and attention.
Carly Hill.
I'm glad I wrote it so you could read it this time.
Hi, my name is Carly Hill. I live on Elm Street in Germantown. I wanted to bring a concern that I have to you as members of our board and our superintendent. On October 13th, an incident happened during a football game that was concerning to say the least. At the time of the incident, the administrators at the field immediately handled the concern and notified the proper authorities. While administration had the situation under control, I thought it was important to ensure our school board members and our superintendent were at the lewd and inappropriate actions of a member of our community on school grounds. On October 14th, I sent an email to all members of the school board and Mr. Schaller, to which only one member of our school board responded. But I was reassured that all members had received the email, as the person that I wrote the concern about was directly informed of the email and of my personal information. While I am well aware that emails to the school board are public information, the time frame from which I sent the email and to the person in question having my information is suspicious because it is a relatively short time frame. So here is where my question and concerns lies. Was the information given to the person in question to give them ample time to try and bribe the other parties involved, in which they did? Was it due to the fact that the newly elected school board member is currently living with the person in question and their campaign manager wanted to ensure that the candidate was able to stay ahead of the matter in case they needed to do damage control? Either of these situations seem to be gross abuse of one's position. And if neither of those examples, in the board's self-described position of transparency, I would like to know why mine, along with other members of the community concerns, are immediately sent to the parties in which they have concerns about with no regard to our privacy. As a parent in our district, we should be able to reach out to our school board members and superintendent without fear of them forwarding our questions and concerns and personal information directly to the party that we submitted concerns about. You were elected and hired to the position you are in to serve our district and provide our children an education, not to use your position to spread information to your friends. Thank you.
I'm gonna get the last name wrong. Cassie?
You got the first name right.
I got the first name right. You gotta give me the last name.
Kuzer.
Hello, my name is Kathy Kuzer. I live at 229 East Uncle Street in Germantown. I have a 10th grader, 4th grader, and a 2nd grader that attend Donahue. I am also a local religious trauma therapist. Our family moved here in 2021, and I'm sure for many that fact alone disqualifies any opinion that I have here today. I very quickly learned that being an outsider here is not something that someone wants to be. But that is exactly why you should hear what I have to say. Take it from someone on the outside looking in. There is a board member that has spent the last few months sharing some very serious statements about community members here in Germantown. The character that he has publicly portrayed goes against all the community qualities that drew us to Germantown in the first place. So the question I have for the rest of you, what is the image of Valley View Schools that you want portrayed? Are you willing to sit quietly while one person makes that decision for you? I have seen this person exclaim that they are a pastor and that they have exceptional character based on that fact alone. But these are the verses I know from the Bible. Romans 13:10, love does no harm to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. 1 John 4:19-21, we love because he first loved us. Whoever claims to love God yet hates a brother is a liar. For whoever does not love their brother and sister whom they have seen, cannot love God whom they have not seen. And he has given us this command: anyone who loves God must also love their brother and sister. John 13:34-35. And a new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. Now let's think back on the post of the last few months. Quote, you are literally nothing to me. You thought you had something to say, but it was inconsequential. It still is. You still are. Quote, I am making an effort to follow Thumper's bad advice from Bambi, so I got nothing. Quote, nope, there is no confusion. Your boy says stupid things. He should say better things. You should demand that of him. Quote, stop being an idiot. I leave you with the definition of religious trauma that I use in my organizational trainings. Religious abuse refers to the misuse of religious or spiritual beliefs and practices to exert control, manipulation, harm, or exploit individuals or groups. It involves the infliction of psychological, emotional, or physical harm within the context of religious or spiritual relationships, institutions, or communities. Religious abuse can take various forms, including coercive religious indoctrination, forced religious practices, and the violation of personal boundaries in the name of faith or belief systems. It can cause significant and lasting trauma, disrupt one's sense of self, and erode trust in religious or spiritual institutions. So the question I ask is this: will the rest of you stand by and allow the image of Valley View Schools to be shaped for you? Or will you stand up to the shame and the harm that is already being done? Thank you.
I'm Nancy Malinsky. I live at 59 Round Ridge, Germantown. I'm speaking on the results of the election. This should send a message to one, Ms. Iser. There are repercussions when you don't listen to your community. Two, for supporters, then it'd be more wrong what this community stands for. Three, Mr. Rudd's constant attacks. You're a local minority that clearly doesn't speak for this community. DOT, this community can't be involved. DeGroat and Iser. This is what happens when you don't listen to your community. They won't stop until you're all gone, and now you're all gone. The district, parents want to be involved in their child's educational experience and what that looks like. So you better take note of whether it's legitimate concern or not, perception to reality, and we've got to.
Thank you. Roman numeral 4, approval of minutes. We have the regular meeting of October 9, 2023, and a special meeting of October 13, 2023. If we can take those together, would someone like to make a motion that we approve those? So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. DeGrasse.
Yes.
Mrs. Isaac.
Yes.
Mr. Rudd.
Yes.
Dr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore.
Yes.
Roman numeral number 5, building project update.
So the building's coming along great, as always, same report, we're staying on schedule, on budget. The first floor part of the elementary section does have a roof over it now, including the pink trusses with the basic skin on it. In the front of the building, if you drive by, everybody can see all the new steel that's been erected. You can actually see the final shape of the entire facility. It's just gonna keep coming faster and faster until they get everything on the roof, hopefully by January 1st.
Thank you. Roman numeral 6, financial reports. 6A, recommend the board approve financial statements for the month ending in October 31st, 2023. We have those in our packet. Someone like to make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes. Mr. DeGrasse.
Yes.
Mrs. Isaac.
Yes.
Mr. Rudd.
Yes.
Dr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore.
Yes.
Roman numeral 6B, discussion of the fiscal year 2024 financial master plan. Valerie, would you like to start that off?
Yes, thank you. Under the television behind it here, board members, on my presentation. Thanks very much. As you know, we're in the 5-year forecast season. So this is a discussion about it. I think you received the 5-year forecast and updates and some more detailed information. This is a very high level presentation. If you have any questions, please speak up. What I wanted to do, what I've not been happy about is how I kind of explain how everything fits together. So I thought I'd try to take a swing at this, and Carson, you are so lucky that I didn't call you because I was trying to figure out transitions and everything. Didn't figure it out, but I think I've got some pieces here. If we look at, first word you hear we talk about is our master plan. And our master plan is just a valley view document. And what we look at there is 3 years of actual history and 10 years of forecast. It's very common in private sector to have a 10-year forecast, a vision, at least have a look at where you're trending and where you're going. So we have that here, and we look at that every 6 months. Our 10-year plan, our master plan, is also operationally organized. What we have is we have sections for curriculum, we have sections for high school spending, we have sections for intermediate spending, so that budget managers can provide input in a meaningful manner. And that's how it builds from the bottom up, to get a total for our revenues and our expenses, and then subtract the two, and you get your cash position. The 5-year forecast, which is where we are right now, again, we take the same data, same master plan data, and we just have 3 years of actual, 5 years of forecast. The first year of forecast is the current year that we're in. It is a state mandated document that is required to be submitted every November and every May of every year. What's a little bit different is that it is appropriation line item driven, meaning that they just have a line for salaries, they have a line for supplies, they have a line for purchase services. They don't care what your high school purchase services are. They don't care what your curriculum supplies are. They want it all rolled up. So that's what we have here. It is basically, remember I said our master plan is operational in nature. What we're able to do is it's just our 10-year plan, sliced and diced per the state requirements, supplies, salaries, purchase services. It is also only for the general fund, Fund 001. Then at the end of every fiscal year and at the beginning of every fiscal year, I bring to you our certificate of estimated resources. And what that is for is, it is a state mandated document held at the county. County auditors gets this, all of our documents. The certificate of estimated resources is for all funds, general fund, PI fund, all of our grants, everything like that. But the general fund line item just has our revenues for the general fund. So that's where I get that number. And the general fund ties out to the master plan revenues for the current year. Fourth and final document that that you've heard me talk about is a certificate of appropriations. That is our expenditures for the general fund for 1 year, the current year that we're in. It is a state mandated document, and the county is also the custodian of that record. The appropriations includes all funds, just like the certificate of estimated resources, but the general fund line item ties out to our master plan, the expenditures. So that's how everything ties together. I was hoping to give everybody just a feel for, just a discussion how, when you hear these terms, kind of get a feel for a picture where, what it all means, using the same basic graphic. Just continues from a big umbrella, just funnels down. So the statutory requirements is every district is required to submit a 5-year forecast in November and May of every year. The 5-year forecast has 3 years of actual, 5 years of forecast, with the current year that we're in being the very first year of forecast. So I'd start with the big picture. Our current 5-year forecast that I'm proposing to be approved tonight shows us our cash position. 2023, we started here. We see it rising a little bit in 24, holding flat in 25, slightly decreased in 26, and slightly more. Even in 28, however, we have a very strong cash position. So we have a nice long runway to react to anything that might happen. Next chart just kind of shows the same picture, just showing the actual revenues and expenses. The blue bar is our revenues, the orange bar is our expenditures. The difference between when the blue exceeds the orange, we're increasing our cash position. So we see in the previous years, that line going up, 24, I'm still projecting that. Then it's flat in 25 and down, and then it inverts starting in 26, 27, 28, slightly. Still not leaps and bounds. So some points that I wanted to make sure to make about our forecast is that we actually have finished 4 months in our fiscal year. We are in our 5th month of our fiscal year, which does not seem possible, but here we are. Our 4 month of actuals are tracking to our plan. So I'm not anticipating any unexpected items. Always can happen, but I'm not expecting anything, not seeing anything. An important point that 3 years ago, we went to a new state funding model. And with that state funding model, there were some guarantees, basically a school district would receive any less than it had in fiscal year, I think it was. But with this year, we are now fully funded on the state's formula. At the phased-in level, they've taken 6 years to phase it in, so at year 4, they slimmed down the funding, but we are being funded by it. The biggest reason for this is that in the last budget bill, they updated the cost inputs. The formula is based upon various cost inputs that we were using fiscal year 2018, funding inputs in the previous 2 years. In this budget cycle, they updated those cost inputs to fiscal year 22. We had a big increase over the COVID years in general inflation, and we received the benefit of that. The whole state received the benefit of that, recognize that. Also in our forecast, last May, I think it was, we extended our transportation contract, and those extension is in our 5-year plan for the 24, the increased cost, and 25, and beyond. The important point to make, we've been spending ESSER funds since we received them. They have to be fully expended by fiscal year 24. We have some expenses in those ESSER funds that we will have to make a decision what to do about. And because we don't have a decision yet, those full expenses are in our fiscal year 25 forecast for expenditures. Try to be as conservative as possible. So, some key assumptions in the forecast. It's only as good as its assumptions, right? In In fiscal year 24, Valley View will be placed on what's called the 20 mil floor, and we will remain there. Mr. Scheller and I have asked the Montgomery County Auditor to come to our January Board of Education meeting to talk about the property revaluations that are going to be happening in 2024. In 2025, first year in the new building, yay. The assumptions that I've made is that the state funding occurs as simulations that have been provided by the state. Also included in there are 2 new bus routes because we'll be moving to the new school, needing more busing. We have 1 full-time SRO on campus 5 days a week in that forecast. Concerning ESSER funds, one decision that we have made is the Director of Information Technology. Earlier this year, we approved that job description, so next year, we're going to post that job and fill that position. Decisions that we still need to make around these ESSER funds concern an additional nurse, a staffing position, a counselor, and various valuable curriculum products that have been found through the COVID years that we may want to continue. These expenditures are all in 2025 in the previous charts that you've seen. After 2025, 2026 and beyond, we're kind of, I don't want to call it autopilot, but we're using some general estimations, 3% inflation. We know many medical benefits, 8% is probably about right. So we let that drive the rest of the forecast. Risks and opportunities. I talked about the 20 mil floor. The state legislature is now debating, still taking into consideration changing either how counties are to revalue properties, talking about changing the 20 mil floor. That is a huge unknown at that point. So that is a risk for us. Another risk for us, and I've talked about it before, is our income tax. It is a blessing and it is a curse. We have had very strong collections, which is fabulous for our district. But it's very volatile. Our July 2023 collection base was about 5% lower than our July 2022 collection base, signaling my first signal that things might be slowing down. So I've been very cautious in projecting any increases in our income tax. Also, making this a very volatile piece of our funding is we have a very small percentage of our taxpayers in our district paying a large portion of our income tax. So that, that just makes it a very volatile collection point that we have to be aware of. I made this very conservative in my projections for that reason. Our state funding model, our state funding formula. We will be in the 4th year of the 6-year phase-in next year in 2025. We know that through year 4, that is funded with the budget bill that just passed in June. What we don't know is what happens in year 5 and 6. So I projected our state funding to be flat. Even though we should be phased in and get more, I didn't count on that. Some important points is our formula is significantly, totally driven on EMS data of our district, characteristics of our district. It's very possible, once the new school goes up, people want to come in and move, our students increase, our funding will increase. But you don't know. Just a general note, October 2023 was the first state foundation payment that we received that included the new numbers from the budget bill. Interest income is an opportunity for us. We do have a very strong cash position, and now with interest rates going up, it's a good time to have a strong cash position. Our conclusions is that Valley View is in a very good cash position. We have a strong cash balance even through 2028. The levy may be considered in 2027, depending upon the board and the financial conditions at that time, but we have a long runway to react to things. We have the flexibility to appropriately react, and we have the tools in place to monitor in the various trends and the various elements that could happen, so we won't be taken by surprise. Hopefully not taken by surprise. And that's all I have. If there are any questions, and if anybody else has any questions, you can email me or call me. We'll be sure to put this presentation out on the website tomorrow.
No, I think that was important information about, the income tax base and how there is a small group of folks that are carrying that burden. And I think it's important for our community to be aware that even if one person who has an income and is carrying that burden moves out of our district, that it changes everything. Drastically. So it's just, I think that's just something that people need to be aware of, that, you know, because I don't want you to do a presentation such as this, that's like, we are fantastic, and then, you know, the next time it rolls around, not so fantastic, what happened? You know, but it's a very real concern. But thank you.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks, Howard. Roman numeral 6B, 6C rather, recommend the board approve the 5-year forecast assumptions for fiscal year 2024 and through fiscal year 2028. Will someone make a motion to that effect? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. DeGrove?
Yes.
Mrs. Isaac?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Roman numeral 6D, recommend the board approve the following then and now certifications, not required to meet this obligation within Treasury, or in the possession, process of collections, BSN Sports for $43.35. So make a motion to that effect.
So moved.
For a second. Valerie, would you, any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. DeGrove?
Yes.
Mrs. Isaac?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Roman numeral 7A, moving on to new business, recommend the board approve the memorandum of understanding between the Valley View Board of Education and the Valley View Teachers Association modified contract language regarding the resident educator program mentors. Joe, could you give a 2-second explanation of what that is?
Well, basically, it's the resident education program, and before we used to have, it was 4 years, and they stayed down to 3 years, so we had to make some adjustments, and we worked with the union to get those adjustments made. It's the same as it was.
So make a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. DeGrove?
Yes.
Mrs. Isaac?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Roman numeral 7B, approve personnel action as recommended. So make a motion to that effect. I'll make a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. DeGrove?
Yes.
Mrs. Isaac?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Roman numeral 7C, recommend the board approve the staffing agreement with Protein Solutions, Inc. and Valley View Local School District for service dates August 22, 2023 to May 20th, 2024. So make a motion to that effect. I'll make a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. DeGrove?
Yes.
Mrs. Isaac?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Roman numeral 7D, recommend the board approve Valley View Local Schools Reading Improvement Plan for 2023-2024. I'll make a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. DeGrove?
Yes.
Mrs. Isaac?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Roman numeral 7E, recommend the board approve the job description for the EMIS coordinator. I'll make a motion to that effect. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. DeGrove?
Yes.
Mrs. Isaac?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Roman numeral 7F, recommend the board approve the FFA trip to the state FFA convention in Columbus, Ohio, May 2nd, May 3rd, 2024. I'll make a motion to that effect. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. DeGrove?
Yes.
Mrs. Isaac?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore.
Yes.
Roman numeral 7G, recommend the board approve the FFA trip to the Ohio FFA Muskingum Camp, Carrollton, Ohio, June 3rd, June 7th, 2024. I'll make a motion to that effect. Second, all right. Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. DeGroat,
Yes.
Mrs. Isaac,
Yes.
Mr. Rudd,
Yes.
Dr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore,
Yes.
Roman numeral 7H, for approval of board policies. We have a list of policies that have been put forward that you all should have in your packet and had a chance to review. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve these policies.
I make a motion.
We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I have one point of discussion. We get our policies done through Neola, and sometimes when we revise policies, it's because there's new laws, new regulations that we need to come into compliance with, and so we have to have a policy, put together a policy. Sometimes we revise them for clarification, sometimes we revise them for a number of other reasons. Some of these revisions, I think, are substantively unnecessary. I'm not particularly interested in parsing them out today and doing that one at a time. One of the substantively unnecessary revisions that I found in a number of them was the removal of gender-specific language. And so I am going to vote to approve these, so I'm doing that tonight. But I will be recommending that that we review our policies and come up with a specific, consistent approach on that issue. And so, any further discussion?
But why don't you just remove it tonight?
Because I'm going to approve them, and then we're going to have some with non-gender specific, we're going to have some with gender specific. It's not going to change the substance. That's a procedurally unnecessary step. We can go ahead and vote and approve them tonight, and then we can do a review so that we can be consistent throughout, because not all of our policies are consistent on that point, and that's something the next board will do. Unless you want to make a motion that you want to pull something out, I'm not going to. Any other discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. DeGroat,
Yes.
Mrs. Isaac,
Yes.
Mr. Rudd,
Yes.
Dr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore.
Yes.
Roman numeral 8, superintendent's comments.
I'd like to thank Jacob Walker of Walker Toyota. He gave us a vehicle to use in the situation we have for a special needs student. And we just really appreciate the fact that he came forward and did that for us. I'd like to say good luck to the football team in their bid to another state championship. And then we're working with the teachers and the staff on the calendar for next year, because it's going to be a very interesting calendar. We're hoping that building will be done sometime in October. And we're trying to look at making a move either before Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving, right in that area. So it's going to be quite a lot of effort to get this completed. And we're, like you say, we're working on that. And also, like you said, the calendar for next year, because it'll have to be maybe a few days start earlier than we did this year. It may extend a little bit more. It depends on how long it takes us to move into the new building.
Thanks, John. Roman numeral 9, board member comments. So we'll start down at the end with you, Carson.
I don't really have much today.
Thanks. Ellen?
I know the students were excited to the new school, and it looks really good. That's all I have to say.
Thanks. Spencer?
Thank you for everybody that came out tonight. And I wish our two newly elected board members well in their new, when the new board is seated in January.
Ben?
I would like to say good luck to the football team again, and good luck to the new school board members. And I'd like to address one of the comments of if we were going to sit there and let Mr. Rudd do the things he does. I've tried several times to have him removed as president. You can't remove anybody from the board, but as he does on social media is not presidential at all. and I've tried it 3 times, and it fails every time. So are you saying that anybody hasn't tried to resolve that? I've tried 3 times, it failed every time. So I do care, I think it's not presidential, I think it's ridiculous and childish. So that's all I have tonight.
Bob?
Last night, I had the privilege to speak to the football team at the end of their practice, and I'd just like to encourage anyone who's able to head down to Hamilton Ross tomorrow night and help them or root them on in their regional semifinal game.
Stephanie?
I want to thank everybody who has been helping with our portrait for a graduate. I know Nicole Thomas has been the lead on that. I feel very grateful that I'm allowed to be part of that. I know in years past, not all board members were able to be part of that. And, we are community members too, and we do care about our school. So I'm happy to, for whatever it's worth, be part of that process. And I'm also really grateful for our Whole Child Initiative Committee. Several people here have been part of that as well. And I feel grateful to be part of that as well. Working with children and dedicating my life to children is very important to me to see their well-being and the needs met. So I'm excited about going to be the delegate, the representative for this school district this year at the Ohio School Board Association this weekend. So I will be representing, I think Bob was the delegate last year, I will be the delegate this year. And just want to thank everyone for giving me the opportunity, which I think will be a very rewarding one. So good luck to the board.
Thank you. I just have a couple comments. One, we saw in the forecast, in the forecast that perhaps we might have a levy facing the community in 2027. The next board is going to have the challenge of seeing what we can do to not have to go back to the well if we can, because just as every one of us is going through life trying to cope with the rapid increases in the cost of everything, schools are going through that. And so we're going to have to find a way to manage that as a school, but we're also going to have to find a way to keep everybody in this district's personal finances in our mind too, because we represent the taxpayers and we represent this community, and so we have to care about that. And so I'm looking forward to getting the folks in this community who are interested in collaborating and finding ways to see how far we can stretch that date. That's going to be important to me, and so I'm looking forward to that. Couple things, I obviously pretty clear that much of the public participation was directed at me, and so I'm going to address a couple things very briefly. There's very clearly frustration as to lack of unlimited access to me. You all have access to me at one guaranteed point every month, and that's right here. And I look you in the eye, and I will listen to what you have to say. And I read your emails, and I read them, and I think about them. I don't disregard what people say, unless what they say is based on nothing that I do. Nobody has a right to access to me in any forum they want at any time they want. So I'm not going to grant that. And so if that's frustrating to folks, I'm sorry. But I'm not fixing that for you. Secondly, I choose my words carefully. I mean every one I've ever said. Every one of them. I am not going to stop speaking exactly what I believe in the situation. If how it's received is unpleasant, that's okay. We're all grown-ups. I hear unpleasant things about me. It's okay. I will tell you this. I am confident in the desires of this community. I saw 2,700 plus reasons why I'm going to continue to lead the board the way I lead the board. And so if people don't like that, it's going to be frustrating. I hope that we can move into a time where we have collaboration. We haven't had that for 2 years. And so who knows, maybe you'll all see a different side of town. And maybe that'll be pleasant. Maybe I'll even enjoy it. But to the extent that these comments are directed to me, You always will have the ability to stand 5 feet in front of me and tell me exactly what you want me to hear, and I will listen to every word you say. I don't even bring my phone in now, because I knew people would come and want to talk. And so you have that promise from me. You have access to me here. If I grant it elsewhere, just as if you granted elsewhere, I don't have the right to barge into you and into your friend groups and to your homes and have whatever conversation with you whenever I want to. You don't have that either, and it's okay. Right here, anytime you want, come tell me what you have to say, and I will listen to every word. With that, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, call the roll.
Mr. DeGrove?
Yes.
Mrs. Isaac? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes,
Dr. Smith?
Yeah.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
we're adjourned. Thank you.